This is WBCR in Bloomfield, New Jersey. The time is 11:31. Welcome to DIY World Improvement. I'm Catherine Carlozzi, your host. You don't have to be rich or famous to change the world. In fact, you don't even have to be old enough to drive. I recently interviewed two young women who are proof of that. The first, Shannon Hill McNamara, is a senior at Ridge High School in Basking Ridge, New Jersey. Shannon was only 15 when she founded SHARE, a nonprofit dedicated to improving literacy among girls in Tanzania. SHARE stands for Shannon's After School Reading Exchange. By the time she went to Tanzania, Shannon had already done service projects with her family in Costa Rica, India, and Peru. If you were listening last week when my guest was Eli Shearer, co-founder of the Sacred Valley Project, you heard me talk about something called the girl effect. The idea that the way to break the cycle of intergenerational poverty in developing nations is by educating the mothers of tomorrow. Well, Shannon is one of the growing number of believers. I caught up with her during a break in her midterm exams a few weeks ago. Shannon, SHARE grew out of a service trip you and your family took in 2008. Tell us how SHARE was born and what were the obstacles you had to overcome as you got it off the ground?
Well, SHARE actually began with the idea of it being my Girl Scout Gold Award project. I wanted to do it over the summer, and that coincided with the trip that we were taking down to Africa, and that was really how I got the main idea to start, a community service project down in Africa. And the first thing that I had to do was I sent an email to a man who lived in the area that we were going to go work in, and I asked what the needs of the community were. And of course, since it's an extremely poor community, he sent back a list of 20 different needs that all had to be fixed. I decided to choose one of the top ones, which is education. Then the idea, I talked about it with my family. We just kind of came up with this idea to help battle, gender inequality and they call it the book famine in Africa by combining those two things that need to be fixed and creating an after-school reading program for girls only. Our first summer, we just collected books via donations from family and friends, and that was how we got all the supplies for our first trip. I'd have to say that the biggest obstacle we had to overcome to get it off the ground would be we held a parents meeting for all of the parents of the girls who were going to be in the program, and we had to convince the parents to let their daughters join and why education was so important, in the long run in your life. A few of the parents actually declined, and they wouldn't let their daughters join the program because they needed them to be at home working and cooking and cleaning and fetching firewood, and that was something that really broke my heart just because I didn't even understand it, just because, I grew up having been told that education is what you need to get farther along in life, and a lot of these parents didn't really understand that, so that was something that really confused me.
Shannon, did that change over time as the program developed some steam and they watched their friends go to the libraries and everything? Did parents relent?
Yeah, well, I definitely think so. Also, that's not to say that some parents, all parents were against it. In fact, I had one mother that came up to me after a parent meeting with a baby on her back, and she said, thank you so much for helping my daughter. And, there's a bunch of mothers that have been extremely grateful for this opportunity for their girls. And then I do think that the girls go home and they tell their family and friends about what they learned at the SHARE programs. It's kind of a status to be in the SHARE program now. It's a little bit of, people look at you and they know that, just how dedicated you are if you're involved in one of these SHARE programs. And especially since we've been doing it for 3 years now, I think word's really gotten out about it and people really do believe in the program.
Tell us how it worked.
Well, we right now, as of today, we have SHARE libraries in 4 different schools in Tanzania, and libraries are filled with over 23,000 books, laptops, school supplies, educational games.
All of which you had donated, correct?
Yes. Me and family, friends, everyone's been extremely generous. And what we do is we have those libraries, and anyone can use them, any of the students or the teachers, let alone if they're boys or girls. But the difference is that the after-school reading program is for girls only, and that's 6 days a week after school, and we employ teachers year-round to help teach that, and we wire transfer their salary down if they do it.
Now, you mentioned that this is your 3rd year, so your 3rd anniversary is approaching. How How would you sum up the accomplishments of those 3 years and the program?
Well, I guess there's a bunch of main kind of campaigns and charges that we've led and we've successfully completed. Like, for example, our Light for Learning campaign, we got electricity into all of our schools. One of them we actually had to install solar panel lights ourselves one of the summers, but we are really thankful that we were able to do that. We also have this thriving pen pal program that's great because a bunch of my friends are in it and they're able to connect with the girls that I know in Tanzania. And also, and that one of our biggest accomplishments is that new program that we have now. It's called Share Scholars, and we provide Share girls in some of our younger schools, like the primary schools, with scholarships, and then they can go to some of the secondary schools that Share is a part of, and we will provide for their education to continue even if their parents can't.
How much money have you raised for all of this?
$200,000.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. And how do you raise the money?
Thank you. Well, a lot of it is through the support of extremely generous donors, and we are so grateful for that. We couldn't do anything without them. And also, I will apply for grants online that are kind of geared towards teams trying to make a difference, and then any award money that I win from there, I donate it to Share.
What have you learned from founding and growing your own not-for-profit organization?
I've learned a bunch of things, especially, probably I have to say, communication and confidence would be my two main ones, especially communication, because working in a developing country is so much more different than it is to try to get things done, like how I get things done where I live here in New Jersey. For example, we had to build the library the first summer, and there's no Home Depot in Tanzania, and you can't just, get supplies that you need with just a 30-minute drive. Instead, we had to physically have a bookshelf made because nobody has bookshelves in the village that we worked in. And also just communication, just trying to use my public speaking skills to try to convince people about the girls that need to be helped in Tanzania, because gender inequality in Africa is usually a cause that most people don't really think of right away. You say Africa and they think, poverty, AIDS, but nobody thinks that woman could be the cure to, help in all of that.
Have you any idea how many students, how many girls you have helped through the Share program?
Yes, there's 100, actually, with our new school, there's over 150 girls in the actual reading programs. The libraries and the books themselves are helping over 2,000 students.
And how many of your friends and other people here in New Jersey have you gotten involved in this project?
Well, right now we've mobilized about 800 volunteers to help in some form with Share, and we couldn't be where we are right now without them.
What's next? Where are you going to take this? This is your baby. Where do you want to see it go?
Well, I have some pretty big dreams. In the long-term future, I'd love to be able to set up branches in India or China and expand, but right now, I really just want to focus on making sure that the Share program just in Tanzania is sustainable and working without any problems. Right now, I'm most looking forward to continuing our Share Scholars program. We just got an email a couple of days ago from a man who we sponsored two of his daughters, which are the first Share Scholars since it's a new program, and we sponsored them to go to the school, and we saw pictures of them at this new boarding school that we had been to last summer. There in their dresses with their suitcases and pillows and plates and dishes, and it was just incredible to see that now, because of Share and because of these incredible people who help donate to our cause, these two girls are going to be able to go to school when before they probably would have been married at that age, but instead now they can pursue an education. So that's what I'm most excited about.
What's next for Shannon? I know that you're a senior and you're going to be going to Rice University in Texas this fall. What are you planning to study, and how has Share and your experience with Share shaped what you plan to do? I'm
extremely excited to be going to Rice. I'm completely over the moon about that, and I'm not completely sure about what I want to study yet. I'm leaning towards philosophy, anthropology, or sociology, because I'm extremely interested in people and how they, work and think in groups, especially, having seen people from all over the world that just really, interests me. And I do know that I'm not sure if Share is going to be a full-time job in the future or a hobby, but I know that 100% it's definitely going to stay with me, and I want to bring Share to Rice and start, a chapter for Share there and help get some support in Texas and just kind of maybe even study abroad in Africa and do whatever I can. I want to keep my commitment strong no matter where I am in my life.
I get the feeling that you will. How can the people who are listening to us find out more about Share?
Please visit our website, which is shareinafrica.org, or like us on Facebook, facebook.com/shareinafrica. And feel free to shoot us an email, check out the resources there, start a Share club of your own. Anything that you do, or even just spreading the word, is so useful, and we really appreciate all that you could do.
Shannon, thank you very much for being with us this morning.
Thank you.
Shannon's work has been honored by the United Nations and the governor and legislature of New Jersey. She's received loads of awards and media coverage, and public figures as diverse as Oprah, Queen Rania of Jordan, Condoleezza Rice, and Miley Cyrus, among others, have taken the time to recognize this young woman. It's going to be interesting to see what she does with her career. For Shannon's after-school reading exchange. By the time she went to Tanzania, Shannon had already done service projects with her family in Costa Rica, India, and Peru. If you were listening last week when my guest was Eli Shearer, co-founder of the This is WBCR in Bloomfield, New Jersey. The time is 11 at. The first, Shannon Hill McNamara, is a senior at Ridge High School in Basking Ridge, New Jersey. Shannon was only 15 when she founded SHARE, a nonprofit dedicated to improving literacy among girls in Tanzania. SHARE stands for the Sacred Valley Project. You heard me talk about something called the girl effect, the idea that the way to break the cycle of intergenerational poverty in developing nations is by educating the mothers of tomorrow. Well, Shannon is 31. Welcome to DIY World Improvement. I'm Catherine Carlozzi, your host. You don't have to be rich or famous to change the world. In fact, you don't even have to be old enough to drive. I recently interviewed two young women who are proof of that.